guys, welcome. I'm Matt, the CEO here at ShiftCare, and what we're really proud to bring you today is a joint webinar between ShiftCare and Xero. Why is that so important? Is because the fact that we talk to many organizations throughout Australia, much like I'm hoping most of you, and a lot of them are spending an inordinate amount of time producing their payroll on a regular basis and then also invoicing. So what we wanted to do is sort of come together with our great colleagues at Xero here and just re-educate you on what ShiftCare does and how it works with Xero and how it interoperates. And really why that interoperation is so special is because together with Xero and ShiftCare, we aim to save you about 90% of the time that it takes to produce your payroll and produce your invoices. And it's obviously producing payroll and invoicing is important, but then it's the accuracy. The accuracy of those two items is really important. We want to make sure you and your staff get paid well, and we want to make sure that you're actually invoicing your clients the right amount. And so with a direct connection to Xero, we aim to reduce a lot of that friction. So that's our whole goal of the webinar today. During the webinar, we'll ask you a few polls that Heather will run, and we'll have a big Q&A session at the end. And we'll also have our team monitoring the chat and responding to questions in real time as they can. So who have you got running the session today? Most of you probably, if you've joined one of these webinars before, you'll know Paul Slater. Paul's dialing in from Queensland. He's our customer success manager extraordinaire and absolute subject matter expert on ShiftCare, timesheeting, invoicing, scheduling, rostering. And also we're so proud to have Mina Berry here dialing in from Sydney from Xero. Welcome, Mina. It's so good to have you join us, the first one. And as I mentioned, I'm Matt Cagney, the CEO. So I'm not going to be talking for too long. I'm going to take you through a really brief agenda just to sort of guide the conversation. And then I'm going to be handing across to Paul and Mina to really go into the nuts and bolts of it. So please feel free to keep on putting your questions in the chat. So really, we've got a pretty jam-packed agenda for you today. We want to cover a couple of things, really how we aim to help save you time and money. Paul's going to, and why is that important? So we're going to talk to you about that. We're going to talk to you about how you can actually connect ShiftCare to Xero and what that connection looks like and how seamless it is. And Paul is actually going to demonstrate that end-to-end. He's going to demonstrate the connection. He's going to demonstrate importing clients, importing staff. He's going to talk about pay groups and allowances in a little bit of detail, but probably not deep dive into that as we have other webinars on that. And then he's also going to spend time on exporting timesheets and invoices. And then we're going to hand across to lovely Mina to talk about the Xero payroll and invoicing functions and the reconciliation piece of that and how that feeds into their bank feed process. And then we're going to allow as much time as we possibly can for questions. The whole goal of why you're here today is just to learn how you can all save a significant amount of time across payroll and invoicing functions. If you haven't checked out any of our reviews on the Xero App Store, please do. There's quite a number of people that are using the integration. They love it. They've provided some really nice feedback. If you do use it, please also go on and log in your feedback into that App Store. That would be greatly appreciated by both ShiftCare and Xero. And just, being a software company like we are, Xero is a software company. As we have plans that you get access to various features, I just wanted to start the webinar off with explaining how you get access to the Xero connection and where you get access and where you don't. So on our basic plan, you're able to connect your Xero account. You're able to update pay groups and pay items or allowances. You're able to import staff, import clients, and you're able to export timesheets to Xero. What you're not able to do on that basic plan is export invoices because that functionality is not available in that plan from a function perspective in ShiftCare. Where you get access to the feature to be able to generate an invoice and export an invoice is in our Pro and Premium plans. And we'll send this slide pack out and your relevant customer success representative will know this and what plan you're on and can help guide you at the tail end of this to get the most out of your investment with ShiftCare and Xero. So really what Paul's going to be going through today is really just the how. How do you connect with Xero? So connecting ShiftCare to your Xero account is really easily. Approving and exporting timesheets from ShiftCare to Xero is really easy, and approving and exporting invoices from Xero to from ShiftCare to Xero is also really, really easy. So now what I'm going to do is hand across to Paul to take the mic, and Paul's going to take you through the demonstration.
Yeah, let's do it. All right. Hello, everyone. Another webinar. I love doing a good webinar. So I actually had a look. Heather put up a poll already and sort of asked who's using Xero. And I was really interested to know who's joining this webinar and whether or not you're currently using Xero. So it looks like 62% of you are already using ShiftCare with Xero. And then we've got 14% who aren't using Xero, and we've got 20% who have Xero, but they're not connected with ShiftCare. So we've got a real mix of people. And I think the good news is for the people that are already using ShiftCare and Xero, there's still going to be a bit of interesting content for you today, because I'm going to be showing you some new stuff that we've been building, and it's pretty exciting, actually. We're really reshaping how our integration with Xero works. We've been working really hard on that. And so we have some new integration pieces. And the big exciting one that I know most people that currently use our integration with Xero will be really excited to hear that we are being able to export invoices over to Xero without having to download that file, copy, save it, upload it to Xero, import it, all that kind of stuff. We've now got that API connection direct to Xero, which is really cool. So look, I'll start from the start. And to be clear, this isn't live to our customers yet. It is something that we're still working on. Is the pushing of invoices over to Xero was literally shown to me yesterday. So we're very new on getting that done, and it won't be long, but just so I didn't want everyone running to their integrate, like going to their ShiftCare and trying to find this Xero, because you won't be able to find it at the moment, but it is coming in a very short period of time. We're really keen to get this out to everyone. We just want to make sure it works properly before we send it out to everyone. So yeah, if we go to integrations in Xero, this is where we now have a way to connect your Xero. So when you first use this section, it's going to say that it's not connected, and you've got to click this button to connect it. It's just going to be a matter of logging into your Xero and just saying, yes, I want to connect ShiftCare with Xero. So really straightforward to do that. From there, we've still got, and people that use our current integration will know that you can sync your pay groups up to Xero. So in Xero, you have pay items that you pay your staff with. And so that's in a pay group here. We've got the times of the day and what the pay items are that you're going to pay the staff members. So you sync them up with Xero, and then that will then record that. With allowances, we've got that as well. So we've got your broken shift allowances, their meal allowances, sleepovers, mileage, everything gets linked to those pay items in Xero, so that when you have got a timesheet and you've got your staff working different shifts in the day with different allowances and everything, that will then all get sent over to Xero when you do that. So that's how you connect the Xero up. From there, we've got these new awesome functionality that I'm going to show you through. So first one is you can now import staff from Xero into ShiftCare. Now, existing customers, that may not be the most amazing thing you've ever heard, because you probably got them already in both. But certainly if it's someone that is using Xero at the moment and just starting with ShiftCare or wanting to look at ShiftCare, being able to bring in that. And also that whole process of, I've got a new staff member starting, I have to set them up twice. I have to set them up in Xero, and then I have to go and set them up in ShiftCare as well. You'll be able to just set them up in Xero and then just come into this section and bring them into ShiftCare. And you can even get it to send that email that gets sent to them when they sign up, when they get put in as a new staff member in Xero. So I'm going to click on the import staff here. That is the process. Now, one of the staff already exists because I needed one connected and ready to go, but the rest of them will import fine. So we can see here that it's imported staff. When we go to the list, we'll be able to see, here's the staff that I've just imported from Xero. So it's imported all these 5 staff, and I was already there as my own staff member. So that's the import. Clients also has an import as well. So just to show you, I only have one client here. So if I come into Xero, you can also import clients from Xero. So if you're already using Xero, you've got 40 clients that you've already set up in Xero, you can bring them into ShiftCare. So I can come in here and import clients. And there's a bit of info on what is imported. Probably one of the harder things with the clients is that you don't have a field in Xero to put their date of birth, but ShiftCare does need info in there. And so what we'll do is we will put the date of birth as 1st of the 1st, 1900, and you will have to update that down the track. And of course, as I expected when I do a live demo, it didn't actually import the clients. So again, this is still very early piece at the moment. And I've actually got devs actively working on coding at the moment. So things can change from one day to the next, but that will import your clients into the system, which is awesome. So once you've got your staff and your clients imported and you've got your pay groups all linked and set up, that's when you can look at how do we get information out of ShiftCare and into Xero. And so obviously one of the big ones that you're going to do is your timesheets. So I've created just a really short roster here. So if I view it from a staff view, I've got myself on a shift every day this week, and I'm doing 37 hours. Now, we've got obviously the timesheet report. The timesheet report is where you can see the hours that your staff are working. And so I've got myself down here for doing 25 hours of ordinary hours, 6 hours of Saturday hours, and 6 hours of Sunday hours. So I'm able to then come in and sync with Xero. That is going to sync over to Xero and create a timesheet for myself to pay me in my pay run. And so that's essentially what you will do with all your staff. You will come in and approve their timesheets. You will then sync the timesheets over to Xero, which then starts that process of creating a pay run for your staff, which I'm sure Mina will probably touch on a little bit. But yeah, the timesheets go over as drafts as well, which you can then approve, or you can edit anything that you need to change or anything like that. And so this is where the huge time saving is. You've already got this data in ShiftCare, you're building all these shifts already. So why don't we use that data to create payroll in your Xero? So that's a piece that probably a lot of our existing customers already know. There's nothing really new in that part. Now, the other part that's new is the invoicing. So another part that I sort of say, and when we talk about saving 90% of your time, obviously the timesheets is a huge one. That's a huge time saver. And so many people that I start training, they're manually putting in all their timesheets, and they're going in and creating timesheets and typing all the hours over, and they're exporting spreadsheets and looking at it. That's a huge time saver right there. And then you've got the invoicing, right? So you've already got these shifts in ShiftCare. You're telling ShiftCare what the dates are, and what the times and what the price book is and who the client is. So it has all the information there for you to be able to create an invoice. And so what you'll be able to do is put a date range in, and you'll be able to invoice all your clients at one time. So you can come in here and say, yes, I want to generate the invoice. And so once you've generated an invoice, that's when we're going to show you this new, and again, it was only put out yesterday, so I'm probably a bit. Most people wouldn't even try showing this in a demo, but I'm gonna give it a whirl and see how it goes. So I've just generated an invoice, and here it is for Samantha, and so I can hit the export button, and we'll just wait a couple of seconds, and hopefully we should see it say that it's created an invoice. Yep, so one invoice in Xero. So that goes into Xero as a draft invoice. And from there, that can then be approved and sent to the customer. And so this whole, again, the 90% time saving is I can generate these invoices using the data that we've already put in when we scheduled the services. And also when your rosterers are scheduling these services, they're setting them up as recurring shifts that happen every week. And so building the roster doesn't take as long as well. And then you can invoice them all. And now you'll be able to just send them all over to Xero with this export, which I'm sure anybody who uses our current integration would agree that that was way faster than what you previously had to do, which was downloading a file, uploading it to Xero and all that kind of stuff. I was able to do it from this screen, which is super exciting. that was really all I wanted to cover in my portion. I think I will now pass over to Mina, if you're good to go, Mina.
Sure. Thanks so
Sure.
much. That was super exciting to see. I'm just going to see if I can now share screen. Just bear with me a moment. All right, I'm hoping everyone can see this. Okay,
Yep.
so the purpose of this short presentation at the time that we have is to allow people who have not used Xero before, but who are using ShiftCare, to get a good overview of the main areas around bank reconciliation and also around payroll, and just get a look and feel of the actual dashboard for Xero itself. Now, I do acknowledge that there will be some advanced Xero users, there will be customers that are already on and running their books on Xero. So we have the lovely Kim Payne in our partner consulting team joining today to man the chat. For any specific Q&As that you have, please do add it there as we go along. And yes, I will be running through an overview of Xero. So essentially, I'm going to be sharing a short overview of how you can make running your healthcare business easier and give you better control over your financials. So it's really about getting your books done faster, having confidence in your numbers, and helping you do business from anywhere. First up, we have the Xero dashboard. So this gives you a snapshot of your financial position. You can instantly view all your account balances and how many transactions you have to reconcile. So it pops up, I've got 27 items to reconcile. You can actually go in and start actioning from the dashboard itself certain things that you need to do, like reconcile, open an invoice, raise a bill. There's also an account watch list in the top right-hand corner, and you can flag or monitor any accounts. You can customize this, so you can bring up anything that you want to keep a closer eye on in that watch list as well. And of course, you get to kind of see an overall snapshot of how you're going in terms of your total cash flow position. We also have a very handy mobile app. Now, this is available for free, which is handy when you're out and about. At a glance, you can see your overall cash balance, your cash in and cash out, your bank accounts, any outstanding invoices and bills. And we've also added a really nifty breakdown of each transaction in the profit and loss report. So if you're on mobile and you just want to get a full drill down into your transactions, income and expenses, you can pull that up from your mobile phone. Bank reconciliation is probably one of our most sweet spot features of Xero in terms of time saving. And the aim of the bank reconciliation is to match each statement line in the bank account to an existing transaction in Xero. And you also have the ability to create a transaction on the fly as you're doing the bank reconciliation. So in terms of new updates and features, one of the things is that you're able to search and filter, and you can sort your statement lines. So if you're doing a search, you can do a search by a date range or an amount range, and it makes it very easy to find that transaction. You can also view more statement lines on your screen. You can view up to 50 transaction lines at once, which makes it very easy to reconcile. We've also got cash coding, which is like a spreadsheet, which gives you like a power user view of reconciling transactions. And you can also set up bank rules. And bank rules basically make it really efficient for when you have similar type of transactions hitting your bank statement on a regular basis. You can set up rules to tell Xero where to code this so it completes some of the details for you. Now, one of the other exciting areas of Xero is online invoicing. So this is definitely one of the most time-saving features of Xero. Basically, no more chasing up clients or paper invoices. You can populate, once ShiftCare has sent over the draft invoices, as it does with timesheets, it sends over draft timesheets and draft invoices, which gives you room and flexibility to change things that you need before you finalize and send off the invoice. So you can populate and attach documents, you can customize the look and feel of your invoice templates, you can add payment terms, and also if your clients are still not responding, you can activate invoice reminders that automatically kick in, so you don't need to have to follow them up. Now, one of the really cool things that we've introduced, and we've actually measured the data around this, is online invoice payments. When you apply the Pay Now button on a Xero invoice, we've noticed businesses get paid up to twice as fast as those who don't. So what that essentially means is you're able to accept credit card, debit card, Google Pay, Apple Pay on your invoices, and you can add a Pay Now button, and you can also track when they've read and they've actually checked out the invoice. For the ones that say they never got the invoice, you can actually see that they have, because it's all live stamps throughout online invoicing. It's real time. You can see what's happening on the customer's end when they get the invoice, when they check it out, and when they pay it. So just a quick recap again, just in terms of Xero invoicing, you can raise an invoice on the mobile app. You can also do repeating invoices for customers where you've got a schedule, a monthly, quarterly, annual sort of repeating schedule of that invoice. You can set up a template. You can plug in due dates and also payment terms on that. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, you can add online payment services and get paid twice as fast and automate your payment reminders. Now we're moving on to Xero Payroll. So Xero Payroll is an extremely powerful part of Xero. Let's get clear about what Xero Payroll does. So we have single touch payroll built into Xero, which lets you lodge salary, wage, PAYG, and superannuation details and report this back to the ATO in each payday. Xero Super is gold certified by the ATO, Auto Super. It's Super Stream compliant, which means in Xero you can send employees super contributions electronically to the nominated Australian Super Fund. It also sends super data to the provider and the ATO. Payslips are instantly available to employees to view in their own Xero Me portal. Don't worry, they don't see your bank account or any other information pertaining to your business. It's literally a self-service portal for the employees to be able to view their leave balances, submit leave requests or timesheets on the go, and authorised staff can review and approve leave requests and timesheets as well. Finally, you can create ABA files for upload to the bank to make it really easy to pay your staff. So that's a quick overview of Xero Payroll. I am just going to now hand it back. Stop the share and hand it back over to you, Paul.
Cool, thank you. I've been busy going through all the questions. I'm just finishing off typing a question. All right, wow, we've got lots and lots of questions as we expected. I did see someone ask about shads at some stage, which didn't take long for a shads question to pop up. Look, I would say that I've done webinars on shads before. This isn't going to be a session specifically speaking about shads. So I would suggest having a look. When you go to our website, there is a section at the top of our website for you to look at our webinars, and you can see a previous webinar that I've done on shads. I would certainly recommend. You can also just go to Xero and search for ShiftCare shads, and you'll find that. And also just ShiftCare Xero. I've done webinars on how to set up Xero and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, look, I'll try and fire through a bunch of these questions now. So upon integration of invoices, will the payment be synced, or has it been applied, or does it have to be applied to both software separately? So that's a really great question. So when an invoice goes over to Xero and we send an invoice for $2,000, and then the customer, and then you send the invoice from Xero to the client, and then they pay it, does that then update it as paid in ShiftCare? At the moment, it doesn't. And at the moment on our new integration, it still doesn't, but it's certainly something that we're interested in looking at down the track, because yeah, it would be nice to be able to see in ShiftCare when invoices have been paid and what their kind of history of that is. Look, I think one of the questions as well that's in further down was about what's the benefit of sending invoices from Xero instead of why don't we just send them from ShiftCare? Why are we sending them from Xero? And look, my answer to that is that Xero is your debtor manager program, like it's your accounting platform. And so to me, it makes more sense from a business perspective to be using Xero as the place that you you would send your invoices to your clients. They have statements available. They'll be able to see payments coming in from your bank account because you link your bank account up. It just makes sense from a business perspective to be using Xero as the program that you're sending the invoice to your clients from. Can you only import clients and staff into ShiftCare that you want, or does it globally import everything? At the moment, it will just import all of them. So all your clients and all your customers and all your staff. Once you've imported them once, though, it won't import them again. I can't see the integrations tab in my ShiftCare. Is it only for the premium plan? So that integration section just here, it's still in development. So like I said, this isn't available to everyone at the moment. This was a bit of we wanted to just showcase it to everybody. It's still being tested. And as you saw, I think the clients didn't come in when I did it. So we're still fine tuning it, but we're really close to releasing that, which is going to be exciting. Next question, does the export include mileage and other expenses to be invoiced? Yes, so invoiced or payroll, I guess when you say mileage, I usually think of payroll for mileage. So yes, mileage does go over, but it includes it in the invoicing as well. If a staff member adds kilometers to a shift, that will be invoiced to the client. So yes, that's all included. Can you transfer the timesheet to Xero in bulk, or do you have to do it individually? You can absolutely do it in bulk. That would be terrible for some of our larger clients if we couldn't do it in bulk. What happens if there's 10 invoices exported and one has an error? Do you still need to remove all the invoices? No. So if you have one that has an error, you can go and fix up that issue and then redo the sync. It won't resend the other 9 because they've already been synced. So it would only sync the other one that didn't work. Can we sync invoices which are already created in ShiftCare? Yes. So yeah, theoretically, you should be able to go back and do a date range and import some invoices from last week or the week before. No problems with that. Can you export a single invoice once corrected? Yeah, I just answered that. For supports that are cancelled and we need to pay the staff the minimum 3 hours, currently ShiftCare picks up the whole shift 8 hours and we only want to pay 3 hours. Yeah, so in that situation, what I would suggest is that when you cancel the shift, that you change the staff hours to be 3 hours on that shift, because yes, it would still pay the staff member the 8 hours if you cancelled the shift and left the staff's pay as it left the staff shift as 8 hours on that shift. What are the benefits of sending invoices from Xero rather than from ShiftCare? Yeah, I answered that already. What do we need timesheets in ShiftCare to be approved in order to sync to Xero? No is the answer to that. You can sync either, so you can choose when you sync timesheets over to Xero, do I sync approved timesheets only, or do I just sync all timesheets? I think from a training perspective, I think it's really important that you do approve timesheets and that you do only send approved timesheets over, because you're running a risk of paying staff for shifts that they didn't attend or that they didn't clock in or they left early or something like that. But yes, you can technically do that. Once a payment has been reconciled in Xero, does the new integration automatically apply? I answered that already. No, it doesn't at the moment, but it's something we would definitely look at. Let's have a look. I've gone through the ones that I flagged. Has anybody, I don't know if Mina or Kim has any questions that they have sort of thought that they wanted to answer? Feel free to jump in if you do. So with Xero, can the standard invoice be modified to show client dates, times of shifts, NDIS, OCONM description and value for many shifts on different days? Question 2, is there a limited caricature on the item that you can put into Xero? All right, so yes, when we export over from ShiftCare, it's going to export the line description of what ShiftCare generates, and you actually have control in ShiftCare on what's on the line item. So yes, it'll have the client, it'll have the date, it'll have the time, it'll have the NDIS code, it'll have the value, it'll have everything on there. So yes is the short answer. I think a lot of the time when people ask me questions like this, I say, look, we've got 4,000 customers using ShiftCare. If it didn't have the stuff that it needed on there, we wouldn't be in business and doing this kind of stuff. So generally speaking, yes, it will have everything you need on the invoice when it goes over. And we do send over codes, which is really good. So we do use inventory from Xero. So it creates an inventory item. So you are able to run reporting from Xero's side, which is really cool. When is the Xero integration launch? That's a great question. We're hoping it's going to be within the next week or two, but of course we just want to make sure it's all working.
And just on that point, Paul, one of the things we're going to do after the Q&A is we're going to allow you the opportunity to scan a QR code, and that'll lead you to a quick online form, and then one of our dedicated CS resources will reach out to you, and then they'll schedule a time to work with you once we've tested the final solution to turn it on your environment and get the most out of it for you and your environment and the way you use both of those platforms.
And our marketing team will definitely be letting everyone know when we've got new features on. We'd love to let everyone know about our new features. Someone's asked about, and I did see this other question as well, as about uploading to the Proda portal and being able to, for NDIS clients. Yes, ShiftCare does have a way to do that. Obviously, that's not part of Xero. So what you would do is you would export all your invoices over to Xero, including your NDIS and your plan managed clients, just because you need to keep track of all your invoicing. And then you would separately create an export for the Proda portal, and you would upload that to the Proda portal using their bulk payment request functionality. Timesheets has full timers currently. They were doing extra hours. I like to keep manual logs since two timesheets will collide. Yeah, that's probably more of a harder question. I'd need some more information, Jackie. It might be worth reaching out to our success team or our support team and asking that, just because I need to know what the actual situation is with that. So I might leave that one. The two changes to the client's name, is there any way to change the two to show as a biller and not at the client? That's a really great question. So our current integration is a file download and upload, and the actual biller name is in the file, and you can move it over to that column. I had this exact conversation with a customer yesterday. It does show the company name, so it shows the client name as the to field, but then underneath it, it shows the plan manager's name on it. And again, I think because we have a lot of clients using ShiftCare, most people seem to be happy with that, but I think we probably do need to look at that as configurable options down the track. But the answer is that it will still put the client's name as the to field at the moment. Is there a function to separate mileage that is used on a company car versus a sport walker's vehicle? So at the moment, if you put an allowance on the shift to say mileage, you're telling ShiftCare that yes, they're using a private car, and I want to pay, I want to reimburse the staff for those kilometers. If you don't put a mileage allowance, you're saying they're using a company car and I don't want to reimburse. So yes, that's how you would separate. If it's on the same shift, I haven't really had that conversation before. I would say probably the answer is no if it's on one shift where some of the shift they're driving a company car versus sport vehicle, but that's probably not what the question was. So that's fine. Feel free to jump in, by the way, Mina or Kim, if you're waiting on a question. Will syncing override anything in ShiftCare, the pay item's name or anything? No, it just makes it available for you to choose it in the list, so it doesn't override anything. We have participants that reside in our civil property. Would you have to adjust their invoice to reflect our pricing, or can this be done in Paygroup? Yeah, that's a hard, because you're talking about invoicing, but then you're talking about Paygroup, which is payroll. So there's two separate things there. You can set up, it depends how you're, yeah, hard one to answer live. I think I would probably maybe a support question for that one, and just get an idea of what you're actually doing there. When is the Xero? We did that one. Oh, we've only got 2 questions left. If I update any invoice in Xero draft, will it make any impact in the invoice I created in ShiftCare? No, it won't. So once you've synced over that invoice from ShiftCare over to Xero, if you make any changes in Xero, you're only making the changes in Xero. Can we see the invoice Xero that has been? Can we see the Xero that has been exported? Yeah. So I didn't log into Xero when I was on my thing. That's why I didn't show before, but I logged in while Mina was talking. So this is the invoice that I synced while we were doing it. So this is what it looks like. So it comes over with the item codes. It's got the descriptions here with the name of the client, the date, the time, and everything like that. So yeah, that again, this is customizable in terms of what's showing in the description. In ShiftCare, you can customize what that looks like. I think I did see questions in the chat. I saw someone sort of talking about sleepovers and the troubles that they had with sleepovers. Look, at the moment, my training and my guidance is to split sleepovers into 3 shifts: the shift before a sleepover, the sleepover itself, and the shift after the sleepover. Most people are okay with that. Most people know that that's actually you know, I think the person mentioned that they're going to look at another system because they don't like the way we do it. I think you'll find most systems do it that way, because that is, you have to be able to tell the system that the sleepover in the middle is actually not an active shift, and the staff member's just getting an on-call allowance for being asleep. And with the clocking in and clocking out, you would just have your staff clocking in and clocking out of their active shifts. They don't need to clock in and clock out of their sleepover shift. And if they get woken up during their sleepover, they can wake up and put notes on their shift to tell you that they woke up during the sleepover. And then they would just do their shifts for their active shifts either side. But yeah, that is a pretty standard industry-wide way of handling sleepovers. Will ShiftCare offer the option for vehicle management like other systems do at some point? That's a great question. I think certainly, especially if you've got company cars, I don't think we've got it on the short-term roadmap, but it's certainly something, you know, Matt loves it when we hear questions like this because he can put that on his radar to have a look at. But yeah, I don't think it's on the short term, but it's certainly something we could look at. Do we have a restore sort of function to undo the sync action if anything goes wrong? Look, the good thing about the sync with Xero is everything goes over as a draft, right? So if you sync your invoices and go, oh crap, I shouldn't have done that, you know, I didn't finish off doing something, you can just bulk select and bulk delete. You're good to go, and then you just fix it up and do it again. So that's why I like it. Even with timesheets, super simple to fix anything if you do it wrong. So no, there isn't an undo, but it's not the end of the world if you do sync accidentally. ShiftCare is one of the best systems I've used for its simplicity. That's an excellent question. Thank you so much for asking that. No, that's lovely. Love to hear that. How do you customize description for invoices? Do you have to do it by invoice by invoice? So look, it kind of depends whether you're wanting to do it like just for this line. Like if you're wanting to do it just for that line, then yeah, you kind of got to do it. But if you're saying, oh, I want all of them, it's in account and invoice settings, and it's a global setting for what the line will say. So it'll say it's got the client's name with the shift date, the shift start time, so you can move them around and add things. And there's other fields that you can add in. So you can put the staff member's name, you can show the ratio. There's a whole bunch of things that you can put in there. So yeah, it is very customizable, but it's global on every line item. Mina, did you have a question you wanted to answer?
No, I was just mentioning that we will have more of a guide on the integration itself, because there's lots of questions coming through. So we'll probably sift out the most frequently asked ones and then put a guide together.
Yeah, definitely. And like I say, once we do launch this new integration that I've been showing you guys with all the staff sync and everything that it currently doesn't do, I'll be doing a new webinar just on that, like going over exactly how it works, how you connect it. But you can currently use our current Xero integration webinar as well that I did a little while ago to do that. Matt, did you have a question you wanted to answer?
No, that's right. It was just more one of Julie's questions. I'll display a QR code shortly, and so Mina and team, for anybody who has any more detailed questions, our CS team can answer them in the interim as well. And obviously we'll build out a more, you know, elaborate FAQ and instructional videos as Paul mentioned.
Yeah. Bhupinder's asked, and kind of going to my question about sleepovers. Look, you're right, Bhupinder. Yes, they have to clock in and out twice, but I would say that from a business perspective, from an NDIS perspective, your staff member has done 2 active portions of their shifts at different times. So it's actually kind of good for you to know, when did you actually wake up and start working again? When did you start providing care to your client? And that's why I think clocking in and clocking out twice isn't actually the worst thing. But the answer is no, you can't. It has to be clocked in and clocked out on the 2 active shifts separately.
Well, then also you capture the GPS location at the same time as well, Paul.
Exactly.
Which
100%.
is not a bad thing to sort of be checking in on staff to make sure they are actually at that sleepover shift facility.
Yep. Is there a way, for example, that 3 6-hour shifts can be scheduled to 1 employee overlapping without defaulting to pending, so invoice does not have to be edited? I mean, no, because theoretically a staff member can't be in 3 different places at the same time. So I guess there's probably more to that question, though. I would assume that there is a reason why you want to do that, but we'd probably need to know. I think Ian's typing something there, but I think we probably need to know a bit more info on what you're actually trying to do there to work out why. Cool. Is there a way to customize the invoice line description for kilometers so it's different from related services? currently there's nowhere to difference outside of manual. So that's actually a really great question. I'm doing a webinar. I've just been talking to the marketing team. I'm doing a webinar next week I'm so excited to launch our new split mileage functionality that will show provider travel versus activity-based transport, and you're able to choose which price book you want to use for either of them. You're able to have different mileage for different people. It's really super exciting. So yeah, next week I'll be able to go over that. One thing I wanted to show you guys, see, is totally not related to Xero, but I'm just so excited that we've launched this. If you click on a shift, you can actually probably, let's see if I can do next week.
And Paul, while you do that as well, I'm just conscious of time as well.
Yeah, I'll quickly, because I know we've got to wrap up and I know Mina's got other things to go to, but I wanted to show this quickly because we've just launched it. You can actually, one of the things that you couldn't do before is you couldn't change, I haven't got it turned on. We've added a feature that you can actually change the recurring nature of a shift. So if you had a shift that was for 7 days and you said, oh, the customer now only wants it on a Monday, Wednesday, and a Friday, you'll be able to click on a shift and go more actions and change the recurring nature of a shift. Super exciting feature. We'll be pushing everyone out, but everyone maybe have a bit of a go on that. So it should be on for most of our clients now. Yeah, I think we've got to wrap up, do we?
Hey, Paul, yeah, can I just share my screen then?
Yeah.
And while I do that, Mina, feel free to jump in. I guess there's team. There's a lot of questions coming out of this session, but that's why we have a dedicated CS team to answer those questions one-on-one and work with you, because everybody's situation is often different, and would prefer you had personal support than having to purely rely on help articles. So, if you're a new to ShiftCare prospect or an existing customer, could you please scan this barcode and just complete some of the basic questions there that we asked, and then one of our CS representatives or appropriate representatives will be in contact with you immediately, really about how do you get the most out of your existing investment in ShiftCare and Xero. So that's for customers who have ShiftCare and Xero or want to embrace ShiftCare. And for those, maybe I'll just wait for 30 seconds till everyone gets a chance to take a photo of that barcode, and it takes them to the appropriate web page. And the next barcode I'm going to show you is if you're an existing ShiftCare customer, but maybe you do your invoicing in ShiftCare and you want to actually explore Xero and you haven't used Xero, we've got a barcode and a special offer for you. So if you could scan this next barcode, and bear with me, if you could scan this barcode, it's going to ask you very few simple questions. And then what we'll do is we'll send you a special offer, and someone from our team or the Xero team will be in contact with you to help facilitate next steps and make that as friction-free as possible. And I think that's a wrap. I guess one thing I just wanted to thank Mina and the team for supporting us on this one. I think this is going to be one of many ideally joint webinars where we continue to build out that Xero functionality. Obviously, we have an existing integration. The new integration will be available to all plans. So I just want to clarify that it's available to all plans. The only nuance there is in our basic plan, it's not able to generate invoices. So obviously the exporting to invoice function, exporting invoices to Xero function doesn't work, but on all the other plans it will. And your CS representative will know more about that. Mina, do you want to say anything before we wrap up?
I just wanted to say thank you so much, Matt and Paul. I'm really excited about the upcoming integration and super happy that we have a current integration for our partners as well on both sides. We've covered a lot of ground today. Paul, you've been awesome at rapid fire answering all the
Exceptional, right? Exceptional.
I know, conscious that there are lots of questions that we probably haven't yet unpacked, but we have the Q&A notes. We'll go through it and we'll put together a joint FAQ shortly after this webinar, which will reach out to you. So thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it.
To be honest, I think we can, for the recording that goes on YouTube, we can stop the recording from here, but I'm happy to stay on. I haven't got a meeting until 1, so I'm happy to stay on and answer some more questions. So if you guys have questions, keep firing them in the Q&A and I'll keep answering. But I know Mina and Kim and probably Matt have to jump out, so it's no dramas at all. Thank you, guys. That was great.
Thanks, Mina. Thanks, Kim. And thanks, Paul, for doing a great job, mate. I really appreciate it. I'll stay around for the remaining 15 minutes as well.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, I'll keep keep going through some questions. By the way, there is that people are asking about that Q&A code.
Oh, yep.
The
Bring up
the QR code. Yeah, it might be good just to bring that up and put that on the screen. But I think it's also been put in the chat.
It's in the chat. I'll put it in the chat.
Heather put it in the
Heather.
chat as well. So yeah, feel free to use that link in the chat. How many staff clients can the import handle? Is it possible your Xero demo had too many clients? No, because I tested that on my other account that had like 200 clients last week, and it worked. So a good question. I don't know why, but it'll be sorted, so don't worry about that. What's the max client staff capacity in ShiftCare and Xero? I don't think we really have one. I don't think I've seen anybody really hit a max. I did import one once where someone had over 1,000 clients or something, and it seemed to work. So yeah,
we've tested up to 3,000 staff.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's good. It's just increased payroll work if staff forget for any reason. Is that for clocking in and clocking out? Look, don't forget the clocking in and clocking out is optional, right? ShiftCare doesn't require your staff to clock in and clock out of a shift for you to pay them. In fact, my advice when you're approving timesheets is you should always pay your staff based on the rostered time. And if it did change because the staff member had to stay back or something happened on the day, then you should adjust the shift and then still pay the shift on the rostered time, because that will then ensure that you invoice your client for the right time as well, because invoicing is always based on the rostered time, not on the timesheet paid clock in and clock out times. Random question, will I ever be able to integrate rostered shifts to Google Calendar? That's such a great question, Matt.
We hear it a lot, and we're working on it. I guess that might, to be honest, that might be a couple of months away, but it's certainly on our radar, and it's one we hear a lot about.
Yeah, I run a charity and I use ShiftCare for my volunteers, and I would love for it to be able to sync to Google Calendar so my volunteers don't forget that they signed up for a shift in 3 weeks' time or something like that. Of course, I'm a very edge case use of ShiftCare. It's not supposed to be used for what I use it for, but I think it's certainly a question that's asked a lot, so that'd be cool. Can you show how the pay slip will work with the allowance? I probably can't show it live now, but essentially it just adds it as, like, on the timesheet, it just adds it as a pay item, and then it's just added onto the pay. It's just like all your other pay items, really. It's nothing too special. Reach out to the support team if you have any questions about that. They can definitely help. When will the allowance be able to be applied to employees instead of shifts? Is that, you may be like referring to first aid allowances and stuff like that? I don't think we have any plans at the moment to deal with that. Allowances are at the moment applied, although we are doing some shad stuff.
We're looking at that at the moment.
Yeah, so you may see some movement on that, because first aid allowance is a tricky one because it's a per hour allowance up to a maximum of certain number of hours a week, and so it gets tricky to do it from a shift perspective. So we might be looking at that. Should we book the sleepovers as number of hours or a fixed amount, given that when I sync to Xero, it picks up the sleepover as ordinary time? So you should be adding an allowance called a sleepover allowance to a sleepover shift. It will not do an hourly pay. It'll do it as one sleepover allowance. So if the shift was, sleepovers are 8 hours, right? The Shads Award says a sleepover is 8 hours. So it should be an 8-hour shift anyway. But when you add a sleepover allowance, it will sync with no hours on it and just one sleepover allowance as the pay for that. Cool. There's no other questions. Is there anyone still leaving?
There's a couple there in the chat, Paul.
Oh, yeah.
One of them was, can you import individual staff or clients from Xero, or is it a global import?
Yeah, I answered that one earlier. It's a global import at the moment, although I'm not sure. Look, with all these features, like, the dev team are working like overtime. It's insane how many features we're pushing out at the moment. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to get the basics of these features out so people can start using them. And then we're going to go back and revisit a lot of this stuff and say, okay, how can we make this better? And that's probably one of those things where we could say, well, yeah, cool, we made it that you can import all your staff, but what if you want to be able to see a list of the staff and then tick the ones that you want to import? That's something we could look at down the track for sure.
There was another one just from Margie on how do I allocate one staff member to 2 customers, I think, or 2 clients. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so you can when you're doing a shift, you just need to go into advanced edit. So oops, I'll go over here. So if I go into
Stop
edit and
sharing my
then
screen.
advanced edit. Oh yeah, I'm not sharing my screen. Yeah, sorry. Let me do that. Yeah, when you're in advanced edit, so if I go into a shift and go edit and then advanced edit, you can then just add more than one client to a shift. So you can add an additional second client to the shift. And then from there, that will then allow you to, and it'll invoice the two clients separately as well. And that's how you do it. We call it a group shift. If you go into our help icon, which is this icon at the top right, and if you search for group shift, you should find some help articles on that. How does ShiftCare manage staff leave in Xero payroll? That's a great question. We don't is really the short answer to that. So my advice with clients when I'm onboarding them is that they would use Xero has an awesome app called Xero Me, which your staff can use, and in that they can do a couple of things. One of them is to put leave requests in for sick leave and annual leave, but also they can put expenses through that as well. That would be my suggestion to that. And if a staff member does say they want to take leave in like 3 weeks to go on a holiday, they should put it through Xero Me and then put their unavailability. ShiftCare has unavailability, right? So you can say I'm unable to work, but it doesn't put leave through to Xero. So that's why they have to use Xero Me. Kilometers for staff if entered in ShiftCare to invoice to the client. When using a company vehicle, if we entered in ShiftCare, so how do I make sure staff don't claim the kilometers or get paid when using a company vehicle? So yeah, that's down to that allowance, right? So if you add a mileage allowance to a shift, you're telling ShiftCare the staff member is using a private car and I want to reimburse them for kilometers. If you don't add the allowance, it won't reimburse them the kilometers. Both ways, the staff member, the client will always get invoiced either way. Does ShiftCare text line reflect staff 1 and staff 2 separately for 2-to-1 SIL ratios? I think Ian's typing something in there, but it'll essentially, when you do the 2-to-1, you'll do it as 2 separate lines. So what you'll do is you'll come up here and you'll go advanced edit and you'll hit the split button and you'll have this set to have 2 at the same. So you'll have 9-to-2 access community, 9-to-2 access community. So that'll charge 2-to-1 because it's 2 lines. And then on the invoice, if you want it to show the staff, it'll show the staff both names in both lines. So that way it's kind of clear that that's why you're charging twice, because there's 2 staff members that were doing that same shift. So that should be enough for your plan manager to be happy, although it depends on the plan manager, I suppose, as I always say. The issue with the split shifts is how it shows to the employee on the app. Yeah, I am not really sure the context of that. If you ever do anything up here, it doesn't show the employee. So I always say the instructions are really important. I mean, for the employee, it'll always just show them what the shift is over here, 9-to-2. So if you did have a split shift where like 9-to-12 was access community and then 12-to-2 was personal care, then that should be in the instructions of the shift, is my what I train. When I run a billing report in ShiftCare, can you please add the tab to show allowances so I can double check people are adding the travel allowance? So as a staff, sometimes forget putting the allowance. This will enable you to double check if allowances are added to the shift. Yeah, look, I mean, yeah, that's good feedback. I think we can have a look at that. I think, look, at the moment, the allowance is showing the timesheet report. So when you're on the timesheet report and you're looking at shifts and you're approving shifts to pay your staff, you can see what allowances are added to the shift. And so really, ideally, before you approve a shift, you should be ensuring that the allowances have been added. And approving a shift is obviously really important to process to make sure you're paying your staff properly. So yeah, but yeah, I'll look at the billing report. Cool. Any other chat ones that have come through?
When will you be sending us a recording of this session? How long does it normally take us to package up the recording? And
usually by either later, it won't be later today, I'd say tomorrow. It's probably likely.
So Veronica, ideally later on tomorrow, we'll send you the recording.
Hey, Olivia, hope you're going well. I saw that question when we invoice for 2 staff and 1 participant does not work properly. Is that, so I think I just sort of ran over how I would do it with that split. That does work properly. Like, I don't want to argue with you, but you should be able to do it this way. So you would have 2 to 1. This is how you do 2 to 1. Right, and that should invoice properly. But if that's not, you've got my email, Olivia, so shoot me an email if you reckon that's not working for you. I'm happy to have a look. Cool. Is there anything else? Yeah, I think that's it. I think we've gone through everyone's questions. There's still 100 people here. That's pretty cool. Maybe everyone went off and got a coffee and just left it running. Cool. I think someone's just added up into the team regarding an issue we encountered when attempting to write notes on a PC for 2 clients. We're unable to separate the progress notes. We found this a task when using the mobile phone. Yeah, look, I mean, can you provide further clarification on why this discrepancy? Look, the reason that it exists is because, I mean, I always say that it was just coded that way. So when you add notes at the moment, you don't have the ability, if a client has if a shift has 2 clients on it, you can't choose from the website version which client a note goes. It just goes against everyone. Whereas in the app, you can. I think it's probably just a small gap in our functionality that we could look at down the track. I think it's a bit of an edge case as well. Like, I don't think it's probably not been brought up a lot of times, so it's something we probably need to look at. You know, we're happy to look at things like that when we see gaps. Would you be able to show us how we can invoice a client whose plan is both agency and plan managed? That's a great question. Certainly not one I'm going to do at 1 o'clock when we're right on the cutoff time. Yes, and actually that's something I want to talk to Matt too about. It's happening more and more, actually. I'm finding a lot more clients now are both agency and plan managed, which when I started at ShiftCare 2.5 years ago, it wasn't as common. And so it's certainly something that we're going to have to pivot to be better at. But I do have a way of doing that. If you want to send me an email to paul@shiftcare.com, I'm happy to, we could do a quick half-hour session and I'll show you how to do it. Will it show an error and create a group if it don't? It'll just show an error, Shivani. It won't create a new one. Cool, awesome. I think we'll wrap up. We'll be here all day, but lovely to chat to you guys. I hope it was helpful. ShiftCare is not picking up afternoons when we're doing how do I go about ensuring people are paid correctly? So Evelyn, it absolutely should pick up afternoon rates. If that's not working, please contact support and they can have a look at your scenario and why that's not working. When attaching document to our staff community, it keeps faulting with various HTML extensions. Can you go to support about that as well and let us know if we need to, it might be a limitation of the document types that we allowed to upload, but certainly worth looking at. All right, we better go or I'm going to keep going. Good to chat to you all. Great to see you. Thanks for coming, Matt.
Appreciate it. Good work, Paul.
Cheers. See you guys.